If you've ever been in a legal dispute, you've probably heard of mediation. And when it comes time to pick a mediator, you get hit with this question. Do you want someone who's facilitative or evaluative? For decades, that's been the choice. But you know what? It's a false choice. So today, let's dive in and see why we have got to move beyond this old, tired dichotomy. So the traditional thinking goes something like this. On one side, you've got your facilitative mediator. Think of them as the process guru, totally hands-off. Their job is to help everyone talk, not to get into the weeds of the dispute itself. Then on the other side, you have the evaluative mediator. They're more hands-on, focused on getting a deal done, and they're willing to give their opinion on the case. It's always presented like this clear black and white choice, but the reality? It's way more interesting than that. I mean, in the real world, it's just so much messier. And that confusion has led to mediators saying things just like this. It kind of sounds like a mediator having a full-blown identity crisis, doesn't it? This quote just perfectly captures the mess we've made by trying to force people into one of two boxes, when, really, they're doing a bit of both all the time. So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to kick things off with a great mediation debate, then we'll tear down the outdated framework that's been causing all this trouble. After that, we'll build up a new model, evaluation as a spectrum. We'll peek inside the mediator's toolkit, bust some myths about the rules, and finally, we'll land on the one question you really should be asking. All right, let's get right into it. Section 1, the Great Mediation Debate. Now, this isn't some stuffy academic thing. It's a real argument that has, for way too long, limited how we think about what mediation can actually do. So here's the absolute core of the problem. This whole debate is built on a really shaky foundation. It's not just that it's an old way of thinking, it's that it's just plain wrong. It's an inaccurate description of what good mediators really do, and honestly, it doesn't help anyone. It just makes things more confusing. To really get how we got here, we need a super quick history lesson. So mediation really takes off in the 1980s as a way to help with crazy overloaded court dockets. But its roots? They're in community mediation, which was 100% facilitative, all about communication, all about relationships. But then, mediation gets pulled into the big, messy world of litigation, and suddenly the goals change. It becomes all about efficiency and settlement. And that's what creates this tension we still feel today. Okay, so we know the history. Let's move on and talk about why this old framework is just completely failing us in today's world of dispute resolution. First, let's be super clear on the textbook definition. Pure facilitative mediation means the mediator is basically a neutral traffic cop for the conversation. They help you talk, they might rephrase what you say to calm things down, but they will absolutely not give any input on who's right, who's wrong, or what might happen in court. They control the process, but they never, ever touch the content. But here's the reality check, especially when you've got lawyers in the room. The vast majority of mediators, they use some form of evaluation. They might not call it that. Heck, they might not even realize they're doing it. But that purely hands-off model, it's basically a unicorn in today's legal world. The lines are already completely blurred. And this brings us to the big idea of this whole explainer. Evaluation isn't an on or off switch you flip. It's a spectrum. And thinking about it this way lets us redefine the mediator's role, moving away from those rigid, unhelpful labels and toward a much smarter, more flexible way of thinking. So, what does this spectrum of evaluation actually look like? Well, it can be something as tiny as a raised eyebrow or a really well-timed silence that makes you second-guess your position. A little further along, it's a probing question, like, so, what do you think a jury will do with that piece of evidence? Then you get more direct with the risk analysis, like, I have to tell you, I see some real risk in that argument. And yeah, way at the far end, it can be a direct opinion on the outcome. All of these things are tools of evaluation. This phrase just nails it. In lawsuits, every single negotiation is happening with everyone wondering what would happen in court. Mediators help parties bargain in the shadow of the law. They use that legal landscape, all the potential risks and rewards of a trial, to help everyone make smarter, more realistic choices. Okay, so we've talked about the theory, now let's make it real. In this next section, we're going to pop open the mediator's toolkit and see what these evaluative techniques actually look and sound like in practice. All right, a huge part of this toolkit revolves around these three acronyms, BATNA, WATNA, and MLATNA. All they stand for is the best, worst, and most likely alternative you have if you don't make a deal. A mediator's job is to help everyone get brutally honest about what happens if they walk away, and that analysis, just by its very nature, is an evaluative process. So here's an example from the subtle end of that spectrum.
A mediator asking this question isn't giving you their opinion, but they are absolutely 100% guiding you to evaluate your own case. They're planting a little seed of doubt, inviting a moment of, maybe they have a point. It's a subtle but incredibly powerful tool.
Now, let's slide a little further down the spectrum. A statement like this one. It's much more direct. The mediator is sharing a personal take. They say, I believe, I see risk, and they're explicitly telling the party to weigh a potential weakness. They're still not telling them what to do, but it's a clear step away from just managing the conversation and into the world of active evaluation. So at this point, you might be thinking exactly what a lot of people think. Wait a second, isn't this against the rules? Let's tackle that idea head-on and completely debunk the myth that evaluation is forbidden. This is the big misconception that keeps this whole phony debate alive. So many lawyers, and even some mediators, sincerely believe that the ethics or court rules say you just can't offer any kind of opinion or analysis. But is that actually true? The answer, in a lot of places, is a huge no. Just take a look at the Florida rules. The rule is crystal clear. It prohibits a mediator from forcing a decision on you. It prohibits them from deciding the case for you, but it explicitly allows them to talk about possible outcomes and the strengths and weaknesses of a case. See, the key difference isn't between facilitative and evaluative. It's between evaluation and coercion. Big difference. And this is not just some weird Florida thing. If you look across the country, the rules are way more sophisticated than the myth lets on. California, New York, Texas, even the model standards of conduct. They all carve out a clear space for ethical, transparent evaluation, as long as the parties keep the final say. The real no-no is coercion, not evaluation. So, we've busted the myths, we've built a new framework, and that brings us to our final section. It's time to stop asking that old, broken question and start asking the one that really, truly matters. It's time for a new paradigm. This is the mental shift we all need to make. The old question, is the mediator facilitative or evaluative? It just traps us. The new question is so much better because it's focused on you, the client. It asks, what do we want to get out of this mediation, and how can the mediator use their entire range of skills to help us get there? And that, right there, is the heart of it. Great mediation is not about picking a style and sticking to it no matter what. It's about having a huge toolkit and knowing exactly which tool, whether it's a gentle question, a direct risk analysis, or just shutting up and listening, is the right one for that specific moment, for those specific people. It's all about being flexible, adaptable, and skillful. So we'll leave you with this thought. The next time you're looking for a mediator, don't ask them if they're facilitative or evaluative. Instead, ask them about their process. Ask them about their techniques. Ask them how they adapt their approach. Get past the useless label and find a sophisticated professional who has the full toolkit, because that's how you'll find the right person to help you solve your problem.